Wonderful. Miguel, I need you to send it also to Mr. Molly, the link.
That's what I say. He can
take care of her. He's gonna take care of her. And that's gonna be the daddy right there. That's what she can call daddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's
And he's
how.
not gonna resist being called daddy.
Let me just make sure to send this link.
He's not gonna resist daddy, I can tell you that.
She's with the mother or she was with the son. The daughter was with the mother or the.
I was in the class and when I passed work, it would all cheating right on.
But I know one thing, they said he was very instrumental in her life. Oh, yeah, he was a hands-on father, although he was a young boy, he was very hands-on.
And I know the mother don't think. The daughter away from the family. It's fine.
But apparently they have a really good relationship, so. Yeah.
But you could do.
That's the thing, you know? Yeah. I tell you. So I didn't even want to see the pictures, but the boy get his head blown open. My God, all the paint out all over the floor.
You mean it on the
One
street?
foot, yeah, the ankle bracelet, oh my God. I mean.
Okay, we're gonna get started.
You guys forgot yesterday, not day before yesterday. I started yesterday from Michael Road and Billy Street, yeah. I thought it was day before, I was just yesterday.
Oh, this place. My country, my country, my country. Well, we give God thanks that we're above the earth. We pray for his divine protection and covering of all of us and our families and our loved ones. And all we can do is do the best that we can. But as adults, decisions are still left to them. And in life, the decisions you make have consequences. So all you could do is give suggestions, make recommendations, live an exemplary life as best as you can and release it. I mean, I old enough and I tell you, release it.
I think the thing.
Oh, I was saying that Mr. Molly wants to send the link, is it possible for his phone? Yeah, from Facebook, so he could. I don't see her yet. But it's up. No. See who it. One participant, that's me.
I go back to work. Little different, you know?
Oh,
Monday, hey, baby.
I see, to be a movement.
Yeah. Going to be enablement coach, regional enablement coach.
That's like training or something like.
Yeah, she's gonna be doing training and stuff, globally though, so she could be traveling anywhere.
Okay.
And then, you know, he could be here, like in the Bahamas region, she could go anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so she'll be working at the market.
how was the homework? We're supposed to begin our classes.
It was.
Let's see.
Write it back, write it out.
Yeah, you come to, we said we would address it. And
Yeah,
discuss it at
fine.
the beginning of the class. Everyone basically, say how you would have resolved.
I kept,
I didn't write it.
I kept in my head when you say, keep it simple.
Yeah,
always
it's for your
trying to.
reference, when you discuss, so you could refer
Yeah.
to it and say the point, just need to hear from everybody the assignment and give a tick to those who have completed it. And who share. This is to give a better understanding of what we covered and what we're gonna cover again this evening. Okay, so let's begin with that. I was trying to make sure Bodhi is on. Yeah. It ain't there. Yes, she may be joining later. She's still recuperating from what you call it? They had regatta down.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
They had regatta down there. So she probably regatta out. Bodhi, you're not on, right? All right, so let's go to the question. We were from the textbook, and this is our last. We have one more class
Can't
after
believe it.
next week.
Yep.
Yeah, and if it had started on time, this would have been the last class, but we started like a week later.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just amazing. I can't believe it has gone already. It's gone. So if we look to page 9, we were looking at conflict correction, discipline and applying. There was a case study there. This is under week 5, page 9. Where it says your HR dealing with a senior middle manager who has exceptional skills and competencies in an area of expertise. She is a high performing individual. That's not like one to go all on. But she is also an alcoholic.
Oh, she's dying. Like, but then why dying? No,
She needs to yeah, she was an alcoholic. Approximately,
We gonna read it with each other.
approximately 90% of the time she manages her addictions. You know, there's always that time when you just overdo it, okay?
Yeah.
However, occasionally her condition becomes obvious in the workplace. And everybody, you know, they start doing the eye and nudging, oh Lord, you know those signs they said,
Right.
I do.
Yeah.
I know, right?
She is a model employee in every other way, a valued, well-liked member of the team, and has been employed for approximately 3 years.
That's a long time. She's doing a good job. of
A
what she's
manager does not want to recommend termination and has asked for your guidance and assistance in dealing with the situation. How will you deal with the situation and what course of action will you recommend to be taken? I want to hear what we're coming up with.
Oh, my
We're
God.
gonna stop.
I just wanna.
Go ahead.
Apparently I was mixed up. I don't know, maybe wrong. I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna talk from my head though, because I was so on the wrong thing.
She didn't do the right question.
But I'm still gonna.
Okay,
participate, I'll
Samantha.
just, you know,
Okay, Samantha.
I was on the wrong thing.
So we're gonna start and go straight down the aisle. Come on, lady.
Say, come on.
No, but however, you can stand when you want, face your class. We just want, I just want to begin to soft. No,
Okay, good.
Soft this morning, this evening. Lord, what is it?
Don't worry, we good. Family this evening, we good.
And I mean, drink it.
Okay, so, yeah. We have the questions, so I don't need to read it again.
Yeah, I just need the register so I can. Thank you.
How would I deal with the situation? First of all, I would have called the employee in and have a meeting with her. Acknowledge all of her great work habits and expertise. I would encourage her to keep the great work. By this, I will set the atmosphere for her to know that she can trust me and make her feel comfortable. Also, I would let her know that her drinking is now spilling over in the workplace and it's becoming noticeable. However, we appreciate her as a staff member and care for her and want to give her some help. At this time, I would already set up an appointment with a drug agency and a psychiatrist for her to get counseling free of charge by the organization. I would also inform her that this information is strictly confidential and she doesn't have to worry about the other employees knowing about what is being recommended for her. It would be mandatory that when she attends the counseling sessions that she signs in, and a record of her attendance should be given to our human resource department. This is to make sure that she attends here and is getting the best help that she requires. Because at the end of the day, we want her to succeed in her future endeavors.
Any questions? Any comments?
That's
So I-
basically.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very okay. One,
So we can
one,
comment on the MA.
yeah,
Okay.
yes, one important thing that she did highlight was the HR department involvement and record keeping of the visits. Because HR has to be accountable because there's money that's coming out.
Yeah.
of their budget that has to be paid to the psychologist or to the case manager, whatever they're calling, she's okay. So that's a very important thing when you are recommending assistance to employees. Proper, we dealt with this some time back, proper record keeping
Yes.
is an administrative role of HR. Great. Okay, Crystal?
Oh, geez, I didn't say all that.
Go
I
ahead,
just wrote like
Crystal.
short points.
Go ahead.
I didn't go in depth, but anyway, I would have a candid conversation with the employee, just to see where it's stemming from, the alcoholism. To see if maybe she's having an issue at home or, just want to talk about it. And then after that, I would recommend that she accepts the invitation to do an EAP program that the bank will pay for. And of course, all of this will remain private, confidential, nobody will know.
Unless she tells them. I want to say that.
Yeah.
Because they solve their own business.
Yeah.
Yes, well, I had this, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but that I just needed to nip that before I forgot that.
Mhm.
It's employees sometimes who talk
Yeah.
and make it seem as if it's HR. So keep that in mind. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I will let her know as the HR professional that this is, will stay quiet, private, and don't talk about it, like what we're doing for you. And I will also, as a professional, look for the EAP program, not only locally, but, internationally, not like in Miami or Florida, like maybe she needs to do a detox program or something. I don't know, it depends
Alcoholics
on.
Anonymous and all those things, there are a lot of civic,
Yeah.
low, and government agencies,
Mhm.
that you can reference.
Yeah,
You should have an HR professional,
list.
you should have a listing of these different civic organizations or government agencies and private sector who you can offer or direct them to. And your organization should probably have a preferential list of persons, which would have been identified way before this, of who they would prefer to do business or in partnership with as well. Yeah, so keep that. Very good, very
Yeah.
good. Anything else?
no, and then, well, yeah, sorry.
Hello.
And then, hello. I would not terminate her immediately, but if she continues to act out, or I think they call it like, anyway, they said she was a good employee, she was still a good employee 90% of the time. But that 10% may grow into 20% and 30%. And that, I think in HR it's called gross misconduct.
I'm just gonna ask you how you're gonna classify it for termination.
Right, for fair business.
Okay,
Then we would have to look into that.
So we want to nip that in the bud, so she don't get terminated. But
Right.
So, but I also will inform her of the consequences of not seeking assistance, or not accepting. And I will provide a timeline for the change in behavior.
Good.
As the company cannot continue to affect it, and let her know, you cannot continue performing or acting this way.
excellent, good.
Yeah.
Very good. Those are the important things, keep up your game. See, all of you have different
Timeline.
things, timeline,
Yeah.
consequences of what, Taking
resistance.
right, because,
Yeah, the offer.
right, the company, didn't make an effort. Okay, Janine.
Okay. I have to get him with us, professional beyond being a professional, and also being unique and forming their beliefs and dealing with any situation. A level of care, consideration, and empathy should be shown. Manager approached the department as concerned for the high performing staff member and not wanting to lose such an excellent employee. I would set an appointment to meet with the manager and employee at a time that is convenient to them. Understanding that it is a delicate situation, I would tell the employee why we are meeting and about the manager's concern, and we would like to help. I would encourage the employee to speak about the problem, listening to them, not casting any judgment, and listening and hearing why this is happening. We find that there are underlying issues why they are always drinking. They may be performing well and the workload could be the problem. Or they may have a personal relationship or family problems as well, as they may just be a social drinker, cannot hold the cup and get drunk. Those being said, seek to find out if the employee would like to get help. If so, then you would proceed with a formal action and way forward. If they don't want the help, then it may be cause for dismissal. I would advise the employee that because Kenya invaluable service they've given to the company, we would set up counseling classes and enroll them in Alcoholic Anonymous, where the company would pay for a period of time. We'd also give them a leave of absence to deal with the problem and get updates and feedback on the progress from the doctor and facility that is dealing with the care. The employee must first want to be helped. So once we are in agreement, we want to bring them back to the company, a healthier, focused, high-performing individual. The goal is to counsel, correct, and discipline.
Very good. The goal is to counsel, correct, and
Yes.
if needed. And you said something also, the sentence where you talked about the goal is to bring them back as a high performing employee.
They were always the high.
Right, and the thing is, sometimes when people get assistance or help,
They should.
you have those emotional things that can take place as well. And then it could go the complete opposite. So you don't know what type of really individual you're gonna get coming back. Because sometimes addiction, remember, addiction increases performance and sometimes for a period of time until it takes over and the body gets used to that, that addiction. And then it starts to, but in the beginning, everybody high, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or whatever it is, energy, extra energy in most instances. Very good. Gave it some thought as well. Thank you, Lisa.
How will you deal with the situation? I will call the employee in an informal meeting and speak to her on a more personal level. I imagine the subject will be a very sensitive one, so I'll do my best to remain in a calm and empathetic way. I will let her know that it is known that she is an alcoholic based on her behavior that is sometimes evidently exposed in the workplace. I will urge her that because of her exceptional skills she will not be terminated this time. However, if this action does take place again, termination will be seriously considered. What course of action will you recommend to be taken? We're just on the first part?
No, they're fine. They're totally fine.
After speaking with the employee, I will inform her that it will be mandatory that she enrolls in an Alcoholic Anonymous class, bringing back a signed documentation weekly as proof that she is consistent with the session. And she would also be required to perform a urination test on the decision of management at any given time. This analysis will last for 6 months to a year, depending on the success rate of the situation by the employee.
Okay, that's another twist we just had. And some organizations do it. They do a
They do
pop-up,
them randomly.
random,
Yeah.
a random
The
check.
airport
Yeah, because there are so many liabilities that are attached to the organization if you as an employee, violate under, if you're under some type of influence outside the norm. Very good. Anyone had any questions for? Very
No questions at
straightforward.
the end.
Very- Okay, Madam Smith.
For the first question, how will you deal with the situation? In this position, I would refer to the company handbook to see if there is a policy in place to follow in this situation. If there is not, then I will contact the individual to see what the law outlines and the company's course of action. I would then seek out counseling and programs to be with the alcoholism. I would then speak with the employee to determine through the course of conversation if she is admitting of her condition. And then if she is willing to accept help. I would allow a grace period for achieving its behavior along with proof of enrollment or completion of a recommended program. Upon completion, a follow-up will be done at the next 2 6-month periods. What course of action will you recommend you taken? If one doesn't exist, implement a policy that speaks to alcoholism, drug use, mental and physical health, which would be determined to include advisement from the data. As a company, I recommend that we speak with the employee with a short story or a union representative, if applicable, to determine the extent of their issue and make them aware of the effect that it is having on their performance. Give the employee a time period in which to show proof of completion of an relevant program within a 4-month period. If the time period lapses without proof of completion submitted, request proof of enrollment to the program within a month. If the 1-month period lapses without enrollment or completion of an approved program, then termination. All steps with date and time should be recorded.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry for that interruption.
She's trying to get me out, man.
Yes, no, she come to give it some story, but I really.
It is.
It's a great talk of Jamal.
I printed the email, the homework.
But that's that, any comment?
Get it to work on the machine.
Her second go sit down.
Yes, ma'am.
Respect. Oh, God. Any questions, any comments for her?
No, ma'am.
Not you, Denise. Disrupting my whole flow of glass, man.
I apologize,
Light
everyone.
and the light, did I tell you line drink is just light?
I apologize. I apologize. Excuse me.
Okay, no, you gave, I just want to comment on pertaining to the labor, the Ministry of Labor. Okay, the only thing I haven't, what you're suggesting is great. You should have in place already, everyone in here, in your policy booklet, what you're gonna do, or if it's a major, if found intoxicated at work, if it's a major breach or minor breach. All right, you shouldn't have to go to the Ministry of Labor for that, because that should already be documented. But in the event, if you go and work in an organization and it isn't, they will make some recommendations for you to consider. But the problem comes if it's not documented in your policy, it's going to take a long time to terminate the individual because you have no basis for the termination based on your organization guidelines. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's important that you have that upfront before you even employ any individual. And when you're present, all the presentations, remember what we did with policies, procedures, core values, etc., which should be documented upfront. Employees should be familiar with them and know when they've made a breach. Okay? But if you feel insecure, it's all right to reference them. But they won't have, they really ain't gonna have nothing in their policy saying that, their policy or guidelines, sorry, booklet, saying that you could terminate an employee just for drinking. That needs to be in your booklet. The only thing they're gonna give you if it's fair and unfair dismissal and the guidelines that determines a fair and an or unfair dismissal. And an unfair dismissal normally is when no corrective advice or no disciplinary action was taken over a period of time, normally 2 to 3 warning slips are given. But if you don't do that, you just randomly dismiss an individual, even though they're drunk on the job, and you don't have the policy supporting that, it becomes very, very complicated. Very complicated. And sometimes as the employer, you could end up having to pay quite a bit of money. Okay? Because with drugs and alcohol is a drug, of course, they are treated the employees treated more fair, not fairly, sympathetically, because their addictions, they're not even aware of their behavior and how the addictions are affecting them. It's those around them, okay, who are affected more. So just keep that in mind going forward. You were going to say, oh, okay. Just keep that in mind. Make sure you have those things in place. Okay, very good. There was something else interesting you said. Over 6, how long you want to give them to correct their behavior? Was it 6 months? How long you gonna give it?
Yeah, it says if the employee time period in which to show proof of provision of an accredited treatment program within a 4-month period. And if the time period lapses without completion, submit a request for. If the time period lapses without proof of completion submitted, request proof of enrollment to a program within a 1-month period. And then if the 1-month period lapses without proof of enrollment or proof of completion of an approved program, then termination.
Okay, good. So that's a recommendation of how they would, that's been given of how they would deal with it. Now, what do I wanted to say? When it comes to us in a local community like ours, you gotta take your culture into and what the best practices are done with other organizations to determine the length of time that's reasonable as well. And you may have to consult with some of these agencies for them to give you advice and counsel on what's a reasonable time for you to see change. Does you- It's short. Yeah, 4 weeks ain't really a significant period of time. So just to give the time for the whole process and the recommended behavioral changes to kick in. I wanted to add that the engineering gave one, hers was reasonable 6 months. Yes? Denise, yeah?
Question, we're just kind of over to you or.
We're reading and discussing it and making a few comments as we go along. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Okay, great. Samantha.
Hey.
Hey.
Okay, how would we do, I deal with the situation? One employee always producing exceptional work. But I realize now that she has a problem. Sometimes I would never start this over in the workplace, it's showing. So what I would do is I would pull her into a meeting. Sit down, discuss, try to find out what's going on. Is maybe too much on your plate. Do you think you need assistance because you have been producing excellent work, but you don't know what next you're going to produce this exceptional work. So maybe you have too much on your plate. Let's discuss that. Or maybe it may be a personal issue. If you don't wish to discuss it with the personal issue with me, I understand. Let's get you some counseling, somebody you can talk to. So let's try and get to the root of the problem. What I would suggest, well, I did some counseling, how I would do some counseling sessions, excuse me, also enroll in it because it's alcoholism that we do with here, and we do have outlets that enroll in something like Alcoholics Anonymous. Excuse me. While she is in the program, what we'll have to do is make a note in her personnel file to speak to all of this that's going on. What I would suggest too is in putting this information in the personnel file, once she has successfully completed a program and counseling, and we have seen improvement, then we will meet again, well, her along with persons from HR, those who would need there to discuss, okay, if you think we can take this up a personnel file, I just shouldn't have to follow up for the rest of the day. I mean, that's what I'm
Okay.
thinking now. I don't know, you may.
Okay, yeah, and you don't remove things from people's personal file.
Once that's there, I can.
Yeah, so,
Really?
no,
I
no,
had something,
Okay.
Yeah, you don't know. That's not a good practice. You know, we deal with best practice.
Yes.
That's not a good practice, okay? I know some organizations do have two files. One would deal with like employee relations type of, activities, matters, like that. You'd probably put that in that health and safety issues and whatnot. So it's not, so if a manager comes and asks, for a file for, performance, to conduct performance management, where they got a reference which your job description, job scope, was, so they can refresh themselves, those type of things. Then you can give them the file, they can review it in your presence. You don't even let it leave your office. Okay, but they don't have to go into like a health and safety, and then dealing with, employee assistant programs, that could be attached, but not two separate. You understand, but only one, your supervisor, whoever, your manager only has that one that's dealing with performance management. Because there's so many other things on that file that people can, use against people. And our local community, we can't.
Mishandled.
Yes, very, very, it's sad, that's we're an island, 21/7. Okay, yes, Denise? Just one minute.
I just want to piggyback off what.
Uh-huh.
You know, like HR role is really here to advise, managers and supervisors. Basically, the bank stands and to advise employees with their taxes. I feel that in addition to what said, HR can also make it a part of the culture. To make it friendly where, people don't feel some type of way when having this. I feel, our general culture, we know there's no drinking on the job. However, it is done undercover, like lunch breaks, whatever. You know, and so I feel like HR can also go a step further, by reiterating the policies and procedures, by offering suggestions in terms of, outlets, what avenues are available, and things like that. I feel like HR can also,
Denise, pause, this should be part of your presentation.
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right, yeah, but okay, I'm not ready for yours yet though. Just hold on, when you pull them up.
Oh,
We
yeah,
got me
sorry,
going.
it's a part of
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah, but go on,
I
Samantha.
just want to say one thing, and also my company, we offer, as far as counseling, we have in-house counselors, not necessarily in the same building as, but we have in-house counselors. And then we also have, something that we call get ombudsman.
Yeah.
Where you can get on the phone and discuss and talk.
That comes under the ombudsman.
That's under the
Portfolio?
EATA, but it's different.
Yeah, that's, yeah, you call it the employee assistance program.
Right.
For the counseling, yeah.
Yeah.
For the employee, yeah.
Yeah, and system programs where you have consulate, not
Yeah.
ombudsman,
It's under, but isn't under, but ombudsman, counseling, I know, I just probably said it wrong, but I understand. It's
Yeah,
not under ombudsman. I know.
okay, yeah, they deal with labor issues mainly and settling
Yeah.
and problems. Okay, great, thank you very much. Denise?
So.
No, you are the end. Just
Okay.
hold for me, please. Yes, go on, Denise.
Okay, so you've already done the prelude, so is everybody else. And so I'm just gonna go right into it. How will I deal with the situation?
Yes.
So having a meeting with the employee. Having confirmed that the employee is abusing alcohol, it is best to deal with the situation fast by calling them for a one-on-one meeting. Include the employee's direct manager along with yourself, HR. But ensure not to invite more than 2 persons so that the employee doesn't feel victimized. Approach the employee with facts and try not to make them understand your concern. Try to make them understand your concern for their well-being. Do not mention the word addiction like my friend in the back here. In your statement, in your statement, or present your opinion by saying, we think, or I think, or they think. The employee with the drinking problem needs to know they are not being attacked.
That's it, ma'am.
It is normal for the employee to deny at first, to be angry at the situation. Show the employee how the drinking lifestyle will affect their team and work performance, because the individual is middle management. So what course of action will I recommend to be taken? I went with something I call the SMART steps approach. Okay? Step 1, identifying the problem. The manager has already determined that a problem exists based on the employee's behavior and has escalated to myself, HR. Although this erratic behavior may be seen as occasional in the workplace, during these times, the employee is seen as mentally and emotionally distraught, causing some of the noted: general decline in job performance, absenteeism, tardiness, interpersonal difficulties getting along with their coworkers, whom they supervise and their peers, doing outbursts, just not unusual behavior, what they would have actually transpired or conduct themselves when not under the influence. And then, of course, the smell of alcohol on their breath is truly unbecoming to all. Step 2, remove the employee from amongst the workforce. Removal of the employee from amongst the current work environment pending an assessment of the potential concern. If the employee appears violent, because sometimes they are, because they are now angry and distraught, it can become a risk for harmful to self and others. Contact and identify a first responder if necessary. And if the employee appears acutely ill, call an ambulance, because they are the influenced by 10%. And so you never know what type of behavior or outburst they can cause at that time. If no emergency exists, but the employee appears acutely intoxicated during regular business hours, HR should have the employee manager or a responsible employee to witness the effect of the employee's behavior and physical appearance based on their response to the questions or instructions that were given. In the presence of a witness, confiscate any intoxication substances if they still have anything on them.
Get beat up.
But of
okay.
course, do not search unless you know your employee handbook search rule. That's very clear. If the employee is reluctant to surrender the evidence, request assistance from the first responder. Arrange safe transport of the employee home upon completing of the evaluation. Document the incident thoroughly in writing and notify all who needs to know. Step 3, request an alcoholic test from the employee. The noting employee may show strong resistance to accepting this type of test being run. Even with strong evidence, they are abusing alcohol. Your next step is to make sure that this alcohol test is taken. The alcohol test procedure must reflect and be available in the workplace. But remember, only competent medical authorities are qualified to conduct a medical examination relating to intoxication and render a judgment that medical attention is required. Upon completion of the medical evaluation, HR makes the determination as the appropriate course of action after considering all facts bearing the individual case. Step 4, discuss and recommend employee alcoholism health program. While the employee serves the penalties for abusing alcohol to work at home, we may need to send them to AA. If they're drinking regularly, this gives you a legal backup to determine the appointment if they fail to recover. Step 5, follow up. Stay in touch. Stay on top of the situation and the progress of the employee. Step 6, return to office. If the employee returns to duty, there will be some type of follow-up care such as the 12-step program or other group meeting, therapy, EAP session, or any combination. Always refer to your employee handbook, policy, and procedure. These sessions should cause minimal disruption to the employee work schedule. The EAP counselor will explain the importance of the follow-up program so the employee continues sobriety.
Excellent, very good, very thorough. Any questions for Denise?
And so what I did also was, I like pictures, I like my PowerPoint.
Yeah.
So I have a picture here with the employee being influenced at the workplace, meeting with the HR manager. This one with the employee being escorted off the premises.
That's gonna be the story.
The employee being evaluated and tested. But I will tell you, my research didn't end well. Because my research ended with the employee returned to work, but went right back to their old drinking habit. And so,
They had to get terminated.
and with them being terminated, I do have a termination letter attached as well. Because I'm being real, not everybody is going to come back.
And it's true.
Reformed. It's not gonna take place. Some persons are still coming back with their old habits and behavior.
Yes.
And so I was one of those persons who was being a realist, that reform isn't for everyone. And so there is a termination letter attached.
Very good. And we went with smart step approach, 5 steps. Very, very well presented. Thank you. Thank you. And that's okay. No, that's, and what I'm gonna do, I want to gather a collection of your recommendations. I'll just, those who, 1 or 2 persons, they had electronic. I know I got Alicia's earlier, electronic as well. So send it to me electronically, and I create a folder with these as case studies. Okay, I really would appreciate it. And as part of the assignment, as I review the final grades for this course, your class participation. Okay, Abigail, what do you say? Oh, sorry.
No, Tatum.
What was that?
She said, I said it all. I say, no, Tatum's engineering assistant too. I'm like,
Oh, yeah, but
Everybody.
they're all good. It's
Everybody.
just, you take different approach and we're learning from each other, because what I'm hoping, that was switch shared. The one thing that nobody said about going to the Ministry of Labor for consultation, some, and don't forget they're there. So, I mean, so I'm saying we all have added something.
yeah, I learned
significant and
something, I
different
learned
from
something
each
from
person so
everybody's
far.
first presentation so far, to be
Yes,
honest,
yes,
everyone.
yes.
I just actually learned what gross misconduct is,
Okay,
honestly. I
okay.
looked in the employment handbook.
At your job?
Yeah, I looked in the employment
Just for
handbook.
the terminology.
Yeah, the
it means
terminology.
Immediately, suspend and dismiss immediately. Because it's a major, it's a major breach. Gross misconduct means you've done a major breach. Major breach, which you would have listed, they're not minor things, major stealing. Okay,
Disrespect,
Well-
employer.
major conflict, you may arouse,
Yeah.
fine with gun, fine with, drugs on the job.
Stabbing somebody.
Yeah, fighting on the job, being
Invisible.
grossly insubordinate, and sometimes we have to control ourselves so we don't get there.
Yeah.
So all of those things normally.
I can tell you.
Okay.
I think in my whole
Yourself.
27, 28 career. Yes.
I know.
Yes,
And
so
I'm so angry with
you
myself,
have
and I
to
even
walk
two
away.
individuals bring me to that.
Yeah, you have to walk away.
Some people just expect you.
Yes,
Yeah.
They
boy.
will stop.
Okay, Abigail, let's go.
They will stop.
I would call a confidential meeting with the man to discuss the issue.
Great point.
The sharing that our main goal is to assist and resolve the matter as best we can. I would recommend that they make an appointment with our employees assistance program, where there is a trained psychiatrist to talk together now analysis on the case. Moreover, I would recommend to seek a rehabilitation program to assist with their alcohol addiction, so we can track their progress to ensure safety for them.
Great. Simple to the point.
Straight to the
point. Straight to the point. One of the things that come up very, at the very front, and I
like
think
what you
Denise
say.
alluded to this well, it has to be confidential. You don't need everybody there. Because it's embarrassing, it's uncomfortable, but they say people in addiction, you're more embarrassed than they are. A lot of people, that's what they say from a psychological point, that
I think so
sometimes they
too.
don't even know the
They're not even-
extremity
yeah,
of
they
what
feel
they're
old
doing.
up.
Yeah. Just like you see a woman walking naked on the street, she don't know what in the world she doing. But it's her family, her friends.
Yeah.
We become the ones who are embarrassed.
Yes.
Yeah.
For them.
For them, they don't know because they've gone over, unfortunately. Okay, Glendinique, let's go.
Okay. An employee's decision to drink is their personal business. However, when the use or abuse of alcohol interferes with their ability to perform, it is a legitimate concern because it can affect their performance of duties, create health and safety issues, and goes against the company's code of conduct at the workplace. A manager supervisor is not able to diagnose alcoholism in an employee. They have the day-to-day responsibility to monitor the work and the on-the-job conduct of their employees. The Employee Assistance Program deals with all kinds of problems and provides short-term counseling, assessment, and referral of employees with alcohol or any drug abuse problems, emotional, mental health problems, dependent, any problem. This service is always confidential. The manager or supervisor can refer the employee, or the employee can make contact on their own. My job as HR is to work along with the Employee Assistance Program to the extent that confidentiality is not violated, and to make sure that any adverse or disciplinary actions are appropriate and defensible. I am the person who prepares or drafts adverse or disciplinary action letters, including those involving a firm choice. A firm choice is a very clear warning to the employee who has raised alcohol abuse in connection with a specific performance, conduct, or leave, use, or abuse incident or defiances. At this point, she must make a choice between accepting treatment for the alcohol problem or facing disciplinary action up to and including termination. Alcoholism is a disease. Employees who suffer from it need the company compassion. However, sometimes that compassion may be firm to communicate that while the company is willing to help the employee get assistance, the employee is ultimately responsible for her own rehabilitation, recovery, and performance. The best that I can do as HR is to assist the manager or supervisor with offering the employee assistance program and holding her accountable for her conduct or performance while at work.
Very good. Great. Any comments? Good.
Everybody know how I am. I'm a firm believer. If you're in the workforce, you're not a child.
Yeah.
I maybe ain't nobody.
Yeah.
You have to be accountable for what you.
Yeah, and you missed Tatum, but Tatum began with a very good explanation of trying to take a more positive approach of resolving it and just coming down on the individual, and you're right, we're adults and accountable. Some people unfortunately did not have the upbringing, nor did they have the exposure to know how to behave in the workplace. And we have to help them as much as we can, especially in this particular scenario where the employee was a high-performing employee. So she is a high-performing individual, but she is also an alcoholic. Approximately 90% of the time, she manages her addiction. However, occasionally her condition becomes obvious in the workplace, but she's a high performance. And one of the problems that
Model employee.
but that alcohol.
Why I
just,
take that approach,
And that's
because
wrong with your
no,
approach. It's
no,
good.
I look at it that way because it says as HR, what would you do?
Mhm.
See, in the type of environment I work in, I will not have access to witness and see when the employees are making these infractions.
Right.
So it's the
Right.
duty of the manager or the
Mhm.
supervisor to bring that to me, but they came to you. You read the question?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's the,
Asking
that's what I'm saying, it's the manager's job
Right.
to pay attention to this, see this, and whatever, then bring it to me
Yeah, you
as the
mentioned
HR
that, you
manager.
mentioned that you
And
partnering with them.
Then it's my job to help advise and keep
Yeah.
everything confidential, but
Right.
it isn't up to me to push and make the decision as.
No, and then the like
So-
we've come here throughout the evening, giving the help where it's needed.
Mhm.
As much as your company policy affords. And also making recommendations to anything that may be available free through government agencies, other civic agencies in your community to utilize them as well. But I know we just manage differently.
Yeah.
Okay, and some environments require you to be more firm than others.
Like your
Than
environment.
others. Yes,
need to be
very
more firm.
straight,
Because
very
they
straight.
have, they have this and they have access to when I work in the type of environment. The
Boy,
thing is, I'm in my office all day. And I wouldn't know.
no, you
because
wouldn't
I'm
know.
working.
Yeah.
So it's the manager's job, because a lot of people think because they are managers, they only there to push people around into their work. No, you have a responsibility. You're an employee also, by the way, but you have a responsibility. You have a job. You're not getting paid just to push people to do things for you.
Correct.
So you ain't can come to me to push me to do your work.
No,
You have a manager, do your job, do what you need to do. Put it however you need to do it, and I will assist you, and I will help.
And it's a good position
But a lot
because
of
you don't
managers
want to manage
see
other
that.
people's department. You don't manage other
They
people's areas.
They just figure,
HR is a good and a bad thing, because then again, like we talked about earlier during the class, we have some managers who are not good. Or who are not good managers. So what happens in that instance?
You have to
want
get involved.
Yeah, you have to get involved, because you have some managers who there for a salary. They don't care about the employee, you understand? So if you're a manager and you're not a good manager, let's use that. So then HR being next of kin, the other person, the other staff, you would have to
You should
chime
get
in.
involved. That's where the employee relations come in, and then the size of the organization also dictates how some of this is addressed. Because for an organization like yours, that you presently work in, and Janine, very large international agency. Okay, so they have a whole department area that deals with employee relations. Okay, something to do with health and safety. It's segmented, but
It's
now come to a small company like yours, where you probably, let's just say, the only HR person. You will take a different.
A generalist.
A generalist like that. Yes. So what I'd like for you to, yeah,
I like that rule too.
yeah. Well, generalist, you get work hard. You got to do everything. You get work hard. Okay, Bodie, did you join us?
No, meaning that it's
No.
you and HR.
Today is Azia's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, she's not on.
She's no.
Oh, so Shelby didn't
She's
even
at
need to.
work, and she
Okay.
says she's, payroll week, she's busy at work and then. after
Oh.
she-
Okay, it's fine.
Enjoy a little birthday.
It's fine. Yeah, okay, yes, that's Crystal. Let's go. One more question before we go into
What
the
if,
second half of this.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
is the employer wrong to provide alcohol on the job, like for parties, et cetera?
Social
It
event.
is
No,
employee.
it's culture.
Yeah,
It's culture, okay? It's all your work culture.
yeah.
One of my daughters work at a engineering company.
Uh-huh.
When they party, they
They
party.
party.
Oh, so, okay, there's nothing wrong with that.
Social event, if it's on the premises, then we have a dog. You understand that? If you are alcoholic, I don't think you should say.
No.
No, you say that.
Yeah. But more.
But
I
what
never
they
wanted
do-
to carry like it
Thank
is.
you very much.
And what they do, then you have limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Limits,
Yeah.
and your
I have
bartender.
been in AA.
Yeah.
He's a recovered alcoholic,
Mhm.
and when we go out and we're indulging, he leaves me responsible as far as I am not to have. So when I'm ordering drinks for everybody,
Right.
I make sure they don't bring no drink for him.
Correct.
But
Right.
even so,
And that's the trust.
if he, if
It's like, well,
he wants,
he does not goes beyond just a simple there.
Well, that's good.
And then if he feel himself, he'll be like, he'll come and he will whisper.
Okay.
Somebody take me.
Yeah.
So, cause he, when he came into the company, he didn't hide about it. He didn't hide that. He made sure everybody is aware that he recovered. Women go, you know. Yeah, you said they was, they was great.
You know.
Yeah,
you want to join.
yeah.
It's short, you be alone. I don't want it.
Yeah.
No,
No,
you know,
I
people
mean,
like, you think like,
Yeah.
"Mom, I'm putting pressure on you.
Yeah.
You got to train this one for the team. Boy, they want to get into it.
and then women,
No.
and women, alcohol affects women
It
differently.
does.
It's,
Okay, a man could drink 8 shots, you drink 2.
No,
And you-
no. No, I know so.
One more thing.
They can make these men run for their money.
Yeah, but that's exception, but no, but in case, in studies, no scientifically,
I have a.
Scientifically. men tolerate drink more, women, no, women, yeah.
No, I know, I can drink next time. When I know what my body's tolerate, I can drink them.
To answer your question, your culture dictates that determine that. I know at NMB, when we had star parties, we give you 2 drinks, 2 tickets, for 2
Oh,
drinks.
yeah.
Okay.
I know.
That's what they are.
Paper true.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you,
Very much.
Yeah.
By my car.
Yeah. The bottle start to come out.
Yeah, you have that type
Yeah,
of.
they do too. They get shit.
All right.
Really
What's
on that.
today's? So let's go to.
Well, no, I just put your name down as backup.
One of week 6. Okay, exploring HR management leadership role, building influence, guiding the organization team, guiding employee performance. And a sense here talks about the art of leadership. So leadership focuses on people, on human wants and needs, and on creating an environment where motivation can occur. To be an effective leader today requires looking at the wants and needs of people in new ways with new perspective. This is the essence of influencing by design. Then be aware of the work climate. The nature of our society and its workforce is changing rapidly. Many people in leadership positions have already witnessed a profound shift in character, goals, and aspiration of our contemporary workforce. And the very reason people hold jobs today, leadership challenges are mounting. So it talks about leadership challenges the HR management face, and she's identified 5 here. Changing values about work. Okay, when my era, we didn't have alcohol, nothing but soft drinks
No?
at any party.
Wow.
Okay, it was not allowed. The company was not going to pay out of their budget for alcohol. But that changed.
Yeah.
I tell you, yeah, so we have a changing values about work. One of the things also major change for me in the workforce, the casual work, the work
Oh, my
attire.
goodness.
Them brought that along.
They don't know what to wear. So that's been, and then even the corporate environment now engulfs the golf shirt, the t-shirt. I'm just saying now, changes have taken, in my era, what? No way.
Only
You
thing
can
you want was
t-shirt
the
or what, exactly. Pantyhose, you can go to work without pantyhose. All right,
You know, people don't wear them to work.
No,
No.
And it's okay, but it depends on the image that you want, okay? But you as a female, and we only have women in here tonight.
Yeah,
If you don't wear pantyhose, you shave your leg, you put on your oil, you
Yeah,
put on your
you.
lotion.
that's right.
Okay, you groom, you still groom
you.
yourself. Okay, if you
That's a good one.
And make sure your shoes nice, so don't eat up in your like that.
go to the shoemaker, you put it on
Or you don't wear them at all.
No, but you things create for women female problems. some women, it causes a lot of bacteria and people's yeast infections.
Well, the fact you-
Yes, some people, yes, are very prone to it. So you have to, as HR managers, you can't force people to do things that causes them health problems. But it don't stop you
From
from
grooming
presenting and
yourself.
grooming yourself
Ms.
properly.
Russell, you were saying that right, but that's not how it was back in the day.
No,
People
they
still
didn't care what
got
it had. You could have been itching from head to toe. They didn't care.
Yeah, you don't.
And I go in the organizations now, for true, even with RBC,
Oh,
when they
God,
say
don't
G,
talk
when
about
they say G, you know, this year, they say they're diverse, that's what it is, they bring this diversity.
Exactly.
So me personally, I feel even as an HR professional and a manager, I feel that those type of wear, let's bring that for back office, where you're not client facing, but when you are client facing, you need to be dressed from Monday,
You know what?
every time. That's how I feel.
But that's.
I feel that I'm the young version and I'm going from that.
Yeah.
And
I
that's how it
beg
is
to
for me.
differ from that. I beg to differ, and even having James in the back office, because you still have to tailor it to your organization. Our back office still comes into the branch, they still do activity. So I don't need you coming in the branch in jeans either. I
Oh,
think
yeah,
the back
but you
office,
understand what she
depending
means though.
on your culture,
Okay, but
you need to do soft pants or
It depends
cardigans
on the
or
culture.
something. But that jean thing, like Janine just said,
Mhm.
jeans was never even allowed in the
No,
workplace.
you don't.
It wasn't.
In your hand.
Yeah.
So I would think back office, only if you're not coming into the branch,
Yeah.
but if those.
But I
back office-
said client facing, if you
No,
come
no,
into
they're
the
not.
if you
But
come
they
into the
have
branch,
engagement with the
if you
branch
come into the
employees.
branch, client, person has to interact with you, they have to see you. You understand? From you, so that's an exception.
Okay, now I can put a pause on that. I understand what both of you saying and both of you saying right, okay? Like they have to go to these kiddos, like they work at a preschool. Right?
Right.
They do.
All right? So your culture dictates a different
It has to
hygiene.
change, right? Because these are teachers dealing with 2 and 3 year olds. You gotta get down and dirty and you can't do that.
Right. Right,
Yeah,
yeah, your work, and your work,
Yeah.
okay? Some people work in the engineering field.
So they also wear scrubs,
So they have to go into the.
No,
field.
we wear slacks.
black face, they don't wear scrubs. They don't, wear- okay.
Just cleaners and cooks.
Okay, so they got the engineering company, they gotta go into the field,
Right.
they gotta wear hard hat. You gotta wear
Only
protective wear.
this time.
That's what she said. But the whole thing, what I'm saying is everything has changed,
Changed, yeah.
even though they, in my time and age, they were doing all these things. They still had to wear the most uncomfortable things to work with ignorance as well. And the colonial, influence, okay, people who didn't live in our region. Came and imposed certain things that for their culture, to our culture, our tropical culture.
Are an experienced, well-qualified HR professional.
Correct.
So tell me, when that happens in the workforce, you're sitting at those tables, why doesn't HR then, or I don't know, you tell me, why doesn't HR then stand up and say, look,
It's the
we understand
majority
this
rule.
works for your culture,
It's the
but
majority
this
rule.
culture in the Caribbean is different.
No.
We can of course still stick with the rules and regulations, but the dress wear, we have to tailor it because we know our people and we know the environment of the weather, the climate. So how come HR doesn't push back on that?
They
So
do
they can
now,
tailor it.
they do now, I would say they do now.
Oh, I don't see that happening, period.
No,
No.
unfortunately.
I don't see, everything that happens overseas is brought here.
Yes, wow.
But I can tell you one thing,
Because I tell you why, because they say the company is diverse.
yeah.
So what happens internationally, they wanna adapt it.
But then, and so, and I'm gonna even piggyback to something else too. Let's say, let's just bring a Target. They come and they say, well, we have to do, as what are we, operations, rules, right? We're not on the front line. So why do I have to still bring in $2 million worth of loan? When one, I'm not a lender, I'm an operation, correct? But the lenders don't have to cross over and make sure operations is in order, but they only have to bring in $6 more million than I need to bring in, but I still have a 2 million, and there's 2 million. is,
That's how they
this
do
2 million is
generate their
50% of my mandate when I'm the operations guru. But the lender don't have no percent of operations, but I'm just saying that to say this because it's diverse, it's throughout the whole, region.
And then all comes back to your leadership and leadership exposure.
Well, sales is running everything, I just want you to know.
But if sales is running everything, you still don't. And I'm gonna share something with you. If sales is running the world, you still need operations because
Thank you.
you find your organization, because I know at one point we were just sales driven straight through. And the operations dropped tremendously. So then a new head come and say, you know what, we need this operations to have to be a balance. But you want it to be a balance, but you still want me to make sure operations is where it is, but then you raise my target to 3 million. I'm still 5%, still 50% of my mandate.
That
Come on,
comes,
man.
there's something ain't right with that. But it shows that, what it shows as well is, how we value the work of others. We don't see it as a team. We don't see everybody work being of equal value to bring the success that needed in the organization. And, you made a statement, sales run everything, but that's the concept of business. But the truth is you need every other aspect of that business to function efficiently for there to be some value to the sales that's being achieved or desired to achieve.
But
So
the
it's-
persons up top there, they don't look at
Leadership.
it that way.
Yeah,
Leadership
leadership,
and then looking
leadership.
at it in
Yeah,
that aspect. you
leadership.
understand?
And you're right.
Let's say I'll talk about the uniform thing with my work. The only persons at my work who are allowed to dress like that is administration. Everywhere in our organization have the exact same uniform. Everywhere, Dubai, DR, and here. And my staff head is like, oh, y'all got us in these long sleeve and this, that, and I say, Dubai is the desert.
And they in it.
Hold on, Dubai is the desert. And the DR is hotter than the Bahamas.
It is.
It's
And
further
they
south.
wear the exact same thing. The uniform is not different anywhere you go in our organization. So we're not changing it because y'all want to change. That's the company uniform. That's how it's
So
going.
that's something they should look at for real though.
And do some short sleeves, some long sleeves.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
In uniform. They ain't changing for Dubai. They ain't changing for the DR. They ain't changing for here.
No, but no.
And this is the vision he had for his company. This is how he wants his people to look. This is the type of thing he wants his clients to see. And that's his dream, that's his visual, that's his company.
You have a different company, but anyhow.
I told him, I said, I did make a suggestion for the 3/4 pitch thing and all that different stuff. You know what they say? This is how it is in Dubai. This is how it is in the DR. These places are harder than here.
Let me just say something. No, listen, yeah, and let me, hold on 1 minute. Let me say something to you all as well. Very often, positions like that is taken. That means that there is investment. The company who makes the uniform.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's deeper than that.
It ain't just that, okay?
I want that look.
All right, yeah, okay, it's investment, shoe company, and the courier company, it deeper than just what at the surface, and that's what I have discovered, I've seen over time, but they ain't just that. And of course, he has a vision how he wants his people to look, and nothing wrong with that, that's his vision, and he wants it to be executed. But there comes a time when there's gonna have to be some flexibility, but when you see hard positions like that, guys, there are some other things attached to that, okay? I know in the hotel industry, right, and it's probably before you even entered. They wanted to make sheets, the pillow cases, the towels, and there was, I remember Sandra TV, there was a company on Shirley Street by, Fowler Street area, somebody's right off Shirley Street there. But they designed and they wanted uniforms, you know, all the hotels had uniforms, and they were producing those things. There were some other companies, not so much the forum, but the hotel chains had their factories which were attached to their businesses. And so the local business people couldn't get anything. So when they take hard things,
it's bigger than just what meets the eye.
Yes.
Why couldn't we make towels? Why couldn't we make uniforms? Okay, go to the same design school, you have the same innovative skill set, but there are other investments that they're involved in that contributes to it. So let's go, we could be on this
Yeah.
topic all night.
Just to give you a little bit of understanding, try to help us understand why that is happening. So what we want to do, here. Go to the bottom of that page, on page 1, changing values about work. We said pace of change, global influences, and that's what Lenny, you alluded to. You have a global influence there. There's an image, okay, that you have to accept to make the dream become reality. Then me-centeredness of work. That's what the millennials is all about them, right? Strained relationships with operational managers, you would constantly experience that. And other things, what other challenges are we faced with? We had a global pandemic.
Yeah.
These unheard of diseases that are emerging and show up. How do we deal with them? You have hurricanes. We're getting ready for another hurricane season. We don't know what's going to happen. Okay. So that's another major challenge because people are displaced. I know that. I mean, we had to move people from different islands. Some people never went back to Abaco. Some went to work in Long Island. Some went down to Cat Island. Some went to Andros. I'm just thinking all the different islands. They decided they ain't going back through that again.
Mhm.
So they had to be. That's a challenge because you had to create openings to some degree to accommodate these people because of the trauma that they had experienced. When you have people who cannot stand the sound of rain pattering and water flowing, that's a serious thing because of what they experience. So these are challenges that we are faced with. In our society, we have a very crime high type of environment. Although they say the crime is down compared to last
28%.
last year, that don't mean nothing to me. I mean, I said don't mean nothing to me. That don't mean nothing.
No.
Because the crimes are more violent and then it's impacting our tourism product. It's causing you, we want to get out here by 8:30 so we can get home as quickly as we can. So, and then you have people working these shifts, okay? What type of protection are you can offer them? Nothing. You
Yeah.
can't offer them no type of protection because they'll be anywhere. So it's a lot of, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you have, so many challenges and when we talk about legislation, so much new legislation, the courier services. I don't know if any of you had the experience. Most of the local courier services weren't paying their taxes. They collected it from people. They ain't paying it. So Simon decided I could shut you down. So you couldn't get for a couple of weeks, people still not getting the products that they have ordered because okay,
I have a problem with that, don't make this back.
that's a challenge.
Let me tell you, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that because again, it's deeper than just the surface.
Yes.
Why, Philip? Because they mentioned there was only one courier company who could have paid his taxes, who could have paid their taxes and paid it and they get the money and paid it, never felt delinquent. And sometimes they were always in the credit. And we all know the one courier company can do that when we talking about these things. No. No, but
They shut them down.
no.
Yes, they did.
No.
I'm telling you.
Go post.
I am telling you that no.
They are.
The one which one is the one who's put it in the they're like,
I am product that.
You made the last.
yeah.
Then I go post those.
Sarah, okay, that's the only one who was shut down. I'm sorry, Ms. Beck. That's the only one who was shut down. Every other courier company in this country called the Nassau, Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Was shut down.
Was shut down.
Yeah.
You see the Aeroplan, got their own product, they're like Amazon. With the other places you're buying from other people to bring it in.
No.
Remember to bring this.
Partners with other
Okay.
people.
Yeah.
Everything is connected and it's bigger.
I think the recording is nobody online, right?
So he was.
Everybody was shocked, everybody was, all the, was like,
Wow.
so.
Not really, because guess why? If you already spent your money.
Being more the combatants and, they, you know,
But-
oh, no.
Yeah,
People
Samantha,
in that.
I am just learning about this. When this happened,
3 weeks ago.
Man, why?
You gotta read the paper. Yeah.
My husband.
I don't know.
Then now.
They may, some of them have made some
Yeah.
arrangements with the tax,
I know,
this is
yeah.
millions of dollars.
Millions.
that owe it,
Oh.
okay? But the sad, listen to me, the sad thing is.
That was
they-
in the news as I had.
Yes, 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 that's why. Guys, you all need to listen to the news and read your paper, at least on Monday and on Thursday, at least 2 papers,
Yeah.
okay, as
I
professionals.
really tried to.
But at least, but what I am saying, when did this came
What
up,
happened?
these are, no,
The
the
government shut them down.
They didn't pay that.
Okay, thank you. Now I get it. I tell you.
Thank you, yes, Samantha, yes, Samantha. So we have some.
Yes, why I didn't hear what she
Okay,
said.
listen, listen, please. Okay, sorry about that.
My apologies.
But my. These are challenges
Yeah.
that we are faced with, okay? Not only the pandemic, the enforcement of taxes,
Yeah.
regulations, that's, I think this came up,
Yeah.
the enforcement of regulations, new laws, new rules that we have to adhere to and ensure that they are being adhered to in our respective workplaces, okay? Yes,
I
yes,
just wanna add
Denise,
something
one
to
last
that.
one, go on, Denise.
And when you said rules and changes, I want to add something to that. For instance, there was a company who paid last year $500 for business license renewal, an international, local international corporation, right? This year, that company got a letter, and the business license renewal, guess how much that renewal business license change, was increased to?
It doubled.
Twice the amount.
It doubled.
3 times so long.
Oh, triple.
$10,000.
No.
And the letter said, because of the new regulatory rules with increased taxes, it went from 500 to 10. This thing that nobody tell me.
You saw it.
It's true.
This is one of our receipts,
It's true.
entities from 500 to $10,000.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
I'm
though.
not-
No, no, it's not ridiculous. Folks, there are too many, checks and balances, not too many, there are quite a few checks and balances. The government has put in place to follow up on these persons who have paid under the amount that they were supposed to pay by tweaking the books.
From 500 to
Oh, yes.
$10,000.
So all the time, when you pay 500, they give them back on them.
So when we pay.
Yeah. You see, and you have to submit, you see, you have to submit,
your tax every month.
right,
month.
right,
Every
and
month.
so you have operation. Is, and you
Yeah,
go and
wow.
tell me, you have to
We spent, so, we went from paying 4,000 stuff. Vehicle. 7,000. The license, I'm paying for vehicles.
because
No. The government see and knows everything.
yeah, yeah.
And you need a tax compliance certificate to renew your business license.
Yeah.
Everything on your business.
Yeah.
Everything on your business.
No, they don't.
Across the board.
No. One company.
It's all commercial banks.
Actually, the commercial line, that's only one entity.
So basically, you all have.
Oh, it has like brands.
Oh, that's why Scotia grows so much.
Each brand you can. No, not branch, I say, but each are.
They will try to make a bigger Scotia flag.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
And every arm.
More like that.
Every arm. Every arm is different.
Look here, this thing is, okay, now, on the other. They
Somewhere, like control of the stuff.
You have one, Melanie? I gave you one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, business, it ain't easy doing business in the Bahamas, but this here, this goes back to, hi guys, let's come back together. This goes back to challenges that HR managers are now having to deal with, okay? There are so many challenges that we're having to deal with, and this having to pay large amounts of money in taxes, and I'm just using that as an example, affects our budgets. And it limits how much you can actually put back into the business to invest in the development of your employees. So it's becoming very, very complicated, and it is a challenge that we are faced with. We're also faced with the challenge of the movement of millennials. Millennials are spending 3 to 5 years, and that's good. If you get 3 to 3 years out.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Okay, they're
1
moving.
year.
They're moving very rapidly.
Yeah.
And not necessarily always for money. They're moving because, right, job satisfaction and to fulfill their personal desires, fulfill their vision, what they have for their life, and they're willing to take the risk.
Yes.
They are.
Okay, and some of them are becoming entrepreneurs in themselves.
It's good, no.
I don't say it's nothing bad, but these are some of the changes that we are faced with. It is, yeah, and I don't, but when as an HR manager, you have to keep that in the back of your mind with your selection, when you're selecting persons that, well, recruiting persons. And sometimes what we used to look at training as, we see it as a national investment, not just as an investment for your particular organization. And that's one way to get through it. But let's go page 2 of this here. Building influence by understanding your team dynamics. And it gives a definition here. It says a team is a small number of people with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose and performance goals and approach for which they hold themselves mutually accountable. And then it goes at the bottom and it gives some team attributes. Now, what I want to go here, I'm trying to combine this here along with change management, which is the second half of this chapter, when it goes on to talk about a change. So I want to go through this PowerPoint very here, and then we'll come back.
Change management. 1 of section 7.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I have
I think
it.
it's section 7.
Change review.
On page 1.
I'll look it up in a minute. I have it written down to go to, but let me go through this here. very
Yeah,
quickly with
section,
you.
yeah.
Okay, you see right in here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, the first slide I have here is only those who would risk going too far can possibly find out how far they go. I was still trying to get that video from last week, but I came across something I'd used. And I want to just go through this here, and I still didn't bring no clicker. Here with you. Basic, what I'm trying to say here, and this is related to change. What I'm trying to say here, you could write notes on the papers that I gave you an outline to make it easy for you, okay? So my lady over here, Tatum, don't say, that's a lot of information, what you say. No, I got it there for you, Tatum, and now you can write in between the lines on the side. Okay, we're talking about changes, I would say, of change is something that is, I may describe later as only the only constant in the workplace. Okay, what will it take? The questions I'm asking here is, what will it take for me to become the leader I was destined to be? So what we're tying here is our leadership. We're tying here what we just discussed along with change. Okay, and the challenges, challenges that HR managers are faced with. So you have to determine what it is that will, what it will take, sorry, for you to maintain your leadership and leadership role in the organization. To be a leader who is committed to drive the organization beyond the average. One of the things HR manager, you do not want, I think I mentioned this before, you don't want to leave it as you met it. You want some type of improvement and bring some type of change of improvement to the organization. And the leader who is desirous of embracing change to deliver results for superior performance. So I've noted here that change is the only constant in the workplace. It's inevitable and it's constant. It's constant. It's constant. It never, you could leave here, your work, you left that office this afternoon, then when you go back there tomorrow, you got something else to deal with, something else change.
You wait until tomorrow? And you must keep looking at this.
It happened whilst you're right here. Every day. It's the only constant, and you got to keep that in your mind so that you're able to control your emotions, you're able to control you bring work-life balance. Also, because you are aware of the some things that out of your bounds, okay? But you are aware that things are going to change, people change as well, policies change.
Don't never take anything in this establishment personal.
And that's how you have to live. That's good. Once you do not take it personal, it's not about you as an individual. You're going to live, you will survive. But when you start, and I can tell you, I've had the experience, when you start taking that on personal, you get sick.
Yeah.
I remember when we had to do, and Abigail, you could relate to this, cutbacks, make people redundant because of first it was the Gulf War, then it was 9/11, okay? Now you have the pandemic. And some business never recruit. You had to do cutbacks. But I remember one time when I had to lay off people, it was one of the most horrible, and hundreds of people. It's the most horrible thing. And we did it at the end of the day, when people didn't work hard, okay?
What's the reason for that? I have a problem with that.
Because, yeah, you
Why
may
can't
have
we
a
do it
problem.
in the beginning?
No,
in the morning?
because you have in a hotel, the work never sells. Hotels are open 24 hours,
Yeah,
okay?
but that's the thing, they gotta work all day, I mean, in
Yeah,
regardless of why.
you have
do
to
it in the
meet your
beginning.
guests. No, you have to meet your guest expectations for that day, okay, or for that week. You already have your plan as to how, because managers and supervisors then have to come in and do the work. All right, but what I'm saying is that it made me, I started to get ulcers because,
You wasn't eating it.
yeah, no, it's the nervousness that came. When you come into me, you're a man. I'm just with a family. And I got to go home. I got to let you know we're making your position redundant today. And when you're not going to do that, you aren't just doing that to 1, 2 persons. You're doing that to quite sometimes hundreds of people. That makes you, when you think of the families, the children who are going to be infected and impacted by this. And then the situation was getting worse over time. You know, with the hospitality, they don't just come back like that. It takes weeks, a month, sometime to come back. And you have to let people go. And you have to deliver the news.
You had some human in you. These people let you go, they don't care.
But you know what has happened over time? People have now become insensitive to it because they had to learn how to deal with it. Yeah.
Now, okay, you say, $50 out of that, go, okay, give me 50 minutes.
Yeah. I wouldn't call them insensitive. I think a lot of persons just had to prevent themselves from getting sick. Like
And
you
I was
said.
getting sick.
They just had to let it go.
Yes.
They just had to,
And that's what I had to learn how to do it and not take it personal. And I couldn't allow my emotions to get tangled up in it. Okay, well, the best I could do, was able to do, or we were able to do, to provide for our employees some survival tips, recommendations of things that they could do, provide some type of counseling for them. Okay, they're the things you gotta go, you gotta start thinking creative and innovative of how things that you could do to help people survive during this very difficult. But what I'm just saying, it's gonna come to a point in time in your life
Yeah.
that you're gonna be faced with those type of situations. Yeah, Glendini?
Like I always tell you, every time I come to class, I see similar situation, just so that I just was dealing with stuff as it relates to that. I always terminate. That ain't nothing.
Mhm.
Every day I have to.
Mhm.
But what happened is the type of environment.
Yeah.
With sales, they could fire you at 1 o'clock and by 6 o'clock, they bring you back to work.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, they bring you back, it's
Yeah,
sales.
it's the
It's
type of
sales.
sale, it's type of sale
Yeah.
she's doing.
Like the gentleman said to me, he said, Ms. Forbes, listen to me from the Crystal Palace days.
That's one
This
of
been
the
going
clients.
on. That's been fine.
Okay.
He said this been going on, and he said, let me tell you something, but these salespeople, they make a ton of money, but every one of them have some type of problem. Okay, say the only thing you could possibly do as an HR manager is try your best to implement some type of savings for them to always have something. Because how was it? He said he dealt with a case, this lady was terminated and she was distraught, like she was going crazy. And he had to deal with the case.
10,000 AC.
And she was making over $25,000 per month. So he says they terminate you.
Yeah.
You've been working with this company for all of these years and you don't have a dime.
No, because they live every day.
In sales, every one of them have, especially those well-experienced salespeople who've been in this field all these years, have some type of problem. Every time they make a dollar.
You mean gambling or?
Gambling, drugs.
The environment and how they.
The more money they make, the more problem they have.
Wow.
So he said, Ms. Forbes, you are new to sales. So I'm giving you some tips. Don't take it personal. Do what you gotta do. You're gonna always have them fighting, carrying on because you taking that big chunk of money out of their life. They didn't used to this lifestyle, they didn't used to doing these things, and they feel like you're trying to grab, but you're not doing that. You're doing your job. He
Right.
say, don't take it personal, do your job, because the next day your boss might say, oh, call him, hire him back, and you'll be right there with your Christmas, like, oh, like cussing out that man, let me try and run you over, and I gotta call him back to work, and they'll come right back in your place and look at you.
So change is constant.
In the golden building.
I figured out,
Okay, so change is very, very constant. So here are some change management principles and leadership things. Everybody's heard of SWOT. You all heard of that. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Let's talk.
Right, this way. Come on.
So, you got to look at your strengths, okay? And every organization, every department, every individual have strengths. And you need to identify and be familiar as an HR manager what they are. But there are also weaknesses that you have to examine and look at. And you have to identify those weaknesses, what they are, be familiar with them so you know how to deal with it. You have to look at in every situation, I believe there are opportunities. You need to look at become innovative, creative, okay? Think like we always say out of the box, think differently, basically. Don't think anything is too difficult, but look at situations, even in termination, as an opportunity for the individual. As I used the term earlier, release them to their destiny. That's an opportunity for them to go and find their destiny, okay? And then look at threats. There are always threats from the competition. There are always global weather threats. There are crime threats we're now faced with. Pandemics we're now faced with. So there are always some type of threats that you have. And we call this utilizing a management principle that helps you with your leadership called the SWOT analysis, where you identify your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. So we want to look here, says, I noted here that the change process must be linked to business and performance goals. When you're dealing with change in the environment, or sorry, in your organization, change always have to be linked to your business, or they're often linked to the business and your performance goals. Remember when we looked at 3 core processes of an organization: administrative, what was the other one? Operational and strategic. Okay, so when you look at those, your strategic business goals, okay, and the performance goals, those 3 processes have to be taken into in its context as it relates to the change process. What are our strategic goals moving forward? We're going to implement change, but how is this new policy that we have to implement across the organization, how is that linked to our business goals? And your business goals are linked to what? Your core values. Your core values dictate what your business goals are going to be. And your business, your core values are linked to your vision and mission. Mr. Z saw the organization, all of his organizations in a particular dress, looking a particular way. He had an image of that. So he built his core values around that. Then he built his policies and procedures around that. So when you're going to bring change, if you're going to do a 3/4 sleeve, then you're going to look at how is that going to affect, how is that linked to the business goal of the organization? It also involves, I have here, building capacity with technology and staff. This is where your training and development comes in. This is where we talked at length last week, or the time going so quickly, and week before a little bit about coaching. Okay, this is where your coaching comes in and your mentoring. Okay, the coaching is where you are acquiring what? New skills or improving on the performance of a particular skill set. And so that all involves building the capacity of your staff over time. And then it talks about building capacity to change is a strategic imperative. In other words, if your strategies, okay, your strategic plan of it for the next 3 to 5 years incorporates you achieving a certain amount of in sales, $1 trillion in sales you want to do within the next year, or 3 years, then you have to build your staff capacity and ability to be able to meet that demand. It ain't something you're just pulling out of the air while you're doing certain training activities. It's all aligned and linked to the business goals of the organization. That's why, even though HR is an administrative role, meaning a very strong administrative role, you as a manager have to have relations with your other managers who are driving the operations and formulating the strategies or the strategic plan of where the organization is going. And that's why we say we need to sit at the table, because everything is linked. Okay, and HR does not work in isolation. I have here, leaders should be constantly aware of the forces of change. And some are inbounds, and that another end of that comment should be some are out of bounds. Okay, some you have control over, and some you don't have control over. Nobody had control of the pandemic. We're still trying to find out where it come from. Okay. Okay, as a leader, you must be able to articulate why the change is necessary in the organization. So if you, as an HR manager, you're sitting at the table, you need, and this is why we had the exercises where I allowed you to speak, to do your presentations. This was all in an effort for you to strengthen your self-confidence, to do your appropriate research, to ensure that the research made sense and was relative to what you were researching, and to allow you to be creative and innovative. So when you're able to do those things, then you're able to articulate why change is necessary in the organization. You know, you got to look at what your competitors are doing. You have to go and still probably see what's happening internationally or globally. What are the trends? And then when you have an understanding of that, then you can articulate very clearly, very forcefully, and intentionally why change is necessary to what you are proposing. Effective change management then involves motivating change. In other words, some of you did quite well with this, where you talked about creating the awareness of certain things in the organization through different awareness seminars or training seminars, or sending out PowerPoint presentations about a change. You can utilize that. But one of the things, you gotta create the environment. Okay, I always say that you can't motivate a person, but you can create an environment where they are inspired and are motivated to enforce and implement the change that you are desiring to change. Always keep that in mind. All you can do is create the environment. You cannot, like you said, Denise, with the alcoholic, everybody ain't coming back safe and delivered. All right, but if you can create an environment and opportunities for them to bring about an effective change in their behavior, then there's certain things that you're going to have to do as an HR professional. So you want to create the vision of change. You have to have that person in this particular instance see themselves being a non-alcoholic under control. Okay, an alcoholic who is under control and who can control his or her behavior and drinking patterns. So creating the vision of change. Then you want to develop the support. Everybody ain't gonna like it, but you gotta find who the true leaders are and let them garner and bring people together to develop the support for whatever the change is that you are wishing to implement and to see and to bring about in the organization. Managing the transition. When you're building change, you gotta manage it. You can't just send out a policy and expect people to do it. There has to be follow-up. There have to be timelines. Okay, there has to be measurable results. If you want to manage the transition of the change effectively. And then you want to suggest here, you want to sustain the momentum. That's very important. You implement, you set out awareness, but you don't just leave it, because you can get bored after time, and it, there can be no interest or no enforcement, no implementation. So you want to do things to keep the energy going through, especially through follow-up, through encouragement, through recognition. These are the things that you can do. And then when you're looking at change management, you want to identify gaps between where you are currently and your desired results. And that's where the coaching comes in. Remember, we talked quite a bit about that. You have to have a vision in mind of what it is that you want to see change or improve, and help the persons you are overseeing to see that end result as well. But more importantly, to be identified what needs to be done to get from A to B. Get from A to B. They need to identify that. And you identify what those gaps are, and you will say and express what your desired results are. So you want to do that. You want to create what we call an environment of openness. You want to be objective. You want to be sensitive to staff emotions, as change always involves losing or giving up something. And then you want to allow staff to disconnect from the old. They're very, 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 very important.
So you have to keep staff, well, of course, you have to keep staff informed every step of the way for the change, or whatever changes occurring or happening.
You should keep them informed. Communication is very, very important. It's critical, actually, that not only one-way communication, that they are communicating with you as well and making you aware of any challenges they may be having, or difficulties, or just, I don't get it. There's sometimes I just can't get it. Okay, so
You have to, any change the company make, it's important that the staff is aware. They have to be aware. It's a must. Because then if you don't make them aware, then you have nothing to,
Follow through or
yeah.
measure.
This is the same thing I was telling you about the last class about the labor situation. I had an external member change a uniform, staff was on vacation. They sent it out via email. Who's gonna check their company email, they're on vacation, they don't have to check their company email, they're on vacation, especially not in a management position, you're a line staff, I'm not working, I'm on vacation.
Right.
And they came back to work and what they taught was
Mhm.
uniform
Appropriate.
and was terminated for coming to work in that uniform.
Yeah.
Oh, we sent a change of uniform while you were on vacation, but
That wasn't
That
always
is-
in the fire.
No. you know, the labor department dragged them for that, but
Oh.
my thing is, you have to make sure. Because you can't terminate them because they were on vacation, they are unaware of the change, you have to make sure.
So they get back, they drove back, they went back to work. They got
They got
back.
their.
He didn't tell me if they went back, but I know, he said that.
So
they have to-
communication is
if you
very,
have to Make
to
sure that the staff
communicate.
do a change and the staff is in.
And then you're gonna provide a window for the
Yes.
changes to take place.
yes, time, you have timelines, very, very important. So allow staff to disconnect from the old. Stephen Robinson, David DeCino, in their tech supervision, they speaks about the traditional change process, and this is something I've used. Traditional unfreezing and changing, and then refreezing. So get them disconnect from the old, then make the change process takes place and you freeze it. Unfreezing, then refreezing. Contemporary view takes into consideration the idea that environments are both uncertain and dynamic. So you have to keep that, and some environments are very, very dynamic. So identify the attitude you want to see in the change. What, the thing you want to see change. Determine what sustains the attitude. I'm just using attitude as an example here. Offer an alternative attitude and refuse the new attitude. Let's go through that again. So you identify the attitude that you want to see change. I want to see you grin, not pouting. How are we going to sustain that? I'm going to speak probably positive affirmations, do things to encourage the staff, recognize proper attitude behaviors, acknowledge it. And if they're not doing it, then you offer an alternative, okay? And then you refreeze the new attitude. These are things that you have to do. Innovation may be stimulated through structures I have here that are flexible and provide easy access to resources and have fluid communication. A culture that is relaxed, and this is from Denise Udos, a culture that is relaxed supports new ideas and encourages monitoring of the environment, and creative people who are well-trained, current in their fields, and secure in their jobs stimulates innovation in the workplace. That's something that you can do. Okay, I'm not going to do that video because we tried that. Something is definitely not connected. You what?
Oh, we didn't write the book.
No, child.
I told you learn all of this information more in this book.
Oh, yeah, but that's why I had the support material. Okay, so,
You understand it?
I'll
be getting middle and everything.
This book. Sure, Lord.
hallelujah, Jesus.
Lord,
You are the
Lord, that's
cause
what
me
we
to
think,
top of my
Lord.
peers.
And this woman who write this book thinks she's doing such a good job.
Oh, Tatum,
Call the police.
Tatum, they didn't have anything. That's right, it's my professional friend. Tatum? Tatum? Oh, Lord,
Now she needs to get out again.
yes, you're getting, we're gonna end the class with that, Tatum?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So you have the handout there. Any questions about that?
Very informative.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like that. I
Things I love at the exam should just consist of change.
Last right center.
Study it. Study it, study it. Okay. Any questions? Nobody have no questions about change planning? It's simple, it's fun.
Okay. Let you go ahead, 'cause I just have a little we start this change management topic on session 7. And then.
I'm just bringing it all together so that it makes sense.
Yeah,
Trying to
it
tie
makes
it
sense. So we can go, but we're gonna go back to the HR department high performance team.
Yeah,
that
let's
was
go
page
back.
3.
Yeah.
So we would be on page 3
I
now.
want you to go to page 2.
So team attributes. It was relevant that we should just focus on.
It's very relevant.
It is.
You didn't present, right?
Or did
Denise
we?
Bethel, she didn't present.
Yeah,
She
we'll
went
come,
to get a paper.
yeah, we'll come back to Denise because Denise was gone. What happened to Denise?
Oh, no.
Yeah, we'll come back to you. Just give me a few minutes, Denise. Later, my customer.
That's why I had to present because I have to.
I tell you, but I'm gonna give you the opportunity, Denise. To do it. I want to finish that. Okay, let's go to page 2, please. So let's tie this all in. So you have a team, okay? You're enforcing change, all right? And you have to do coaching and mentoring in all of this. So here are some attributes that's outlined by on page 2. Here, there's talking about for the HR department. I'm not gonna even ask, it says skilled, you need to be skilled, you be trained, clear vision, goals are goal-oriented, clear roles, effective communication, committed, loyal, and honest. Okay? Team before self, concern for others, flexible, be trustworthy, be accountable, have high morale, motivated, pride, and effective leadership. These are some attributes that you as an HR leader, she is proposing that we have these attributes. And then it asks you to score yourself in each of these areas on a scale from 1 to 10, being the highest. Let's do that quickly. Do your score. Do your score. Do your score.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Just score yourself. I don't even need to know what you're
I
scoring
told you
yourself.
to eat.
Charlotte, what if I give myself a 3? I'm gonna be fair.
Okay. Okay. You can come back to that and finish that, but I want you to go to page 3. And at the top, it gives some recommendations of a checklist for a high performance team. Do they function together as one? Do you trust one another? Do you possess complementary skills? Do you have common goals that override your individual goals? And do you support each other to produce outstanding results? These are some suggestions of, a checklist of a high performance team. So your team is performing, but then you as an HR person, you should have influence in your organization. I want everyone to complete this exercise here on page 3 for me, where it's asking you to look at your current position, to identify your strengths, to identify your weaknesses. After you've done that, this is the current position. Then I want you to go to the bottom of the page and then look at yourself 2-3 years from today, the future, and identify the opportunities that you see and identify the threats. Okay?
that supports just what we just covered. So I give you 10 minutes to do that.
Wait. Hi. I'm in class. I thought you were gonna come on. Yeah, I will. I will. Mhm.
Come on, I can't take it. Okay, I'm done. My name, what I put, my company, compensation, talent retention, leadership, development. Yeah. No, it says, it says, competition, the position is talent retention, that's the plan. Leadership is the plan, and then it says, no, sorry, leadership development, one more. I'm using them three, talent retention, leadership development, competition. Only, three. We put three the vision system.
Yeah, she.
No, oh, what you mean, this? It's on the phone.
Yeah, and I. don't know if this is the-
You should- Flexibility. Forever. Yeah.
Finish? No, some people still working. Maybe about.